Antoni Gaudí, Catalan architect born in 1852, was the leading figure of Catalan modernism. Construction on his most prominent work, the Sagrada Familia, began in Barcelona in 1882. He merged rigid structural engineering with highly personalized, biologically inspired geometric forms, and that is what makes this style so surreal. When you hear the word surreal, what probably comes to your mind first are grotesque, disorganized, or maybe even dirty stories that don't seem to make much sense. And that's true. Or rather, it's a lie, but the kind of lie we all prefer to believe. Surreal stories are often unapologetically irrational. Their plots tend to spiral in every direction without a clear goal, refusing to explain anything at all. But the more you delve into these stories, the more you realize that behind this chaotic facade lies a completely different, deeply human tale, one that explains the ineffable. Concepts that words fail to capture are instead expressed through scenes, conversations and colors. They catch a specific emotional frequency that the viewer doesn't just see, but feels. And few pieces of fiction capture this better than the Monogatari series. From the very first scene of Monogatari, which is probably the place where most people start the whole series, you know immediately that this isn't just another anime. You realize you're about to experience something fundamentally different. You don't know if you're going to like it or not yet. Actually, you are not quite sure what exactly you just started watching. You see girls' pants. That's it. That's the opening shot. Panties and a timer. A timer that counts the fractions of seconds you are allowed to look at them. And then the authors throw in a lot of random scenes that in the future you will recognize as scenes from Kizumonogatari, a prequel to Monogatari. So you ask, why not just start with Kizumonogatari? The answer is, you can. But this is the release order. Trust the authors, they know what they are doing to you. Okay, end of the weird intro. We're back to normal. A boy runs up the stairs. The true start. You will finally start the real story. You will finally grasp the plot, ideas. You are excited, as always when starting the new anime. But no, after a split second you get a red screen that appears and disappears too quickly for you to be able to read it, another sequence of random scenes, stairs twisting into a spiral that falls into eternity, those terrifyingly fast slides again, and a girl. A girl falling right into the center of the staircase. The authors compare her to a white pigeon, fragile, ephemeral, but the animation screams something completely different, sharp, empathic, eloquent. She falls like a bullet. The boy catches her effortlessly, and one thing dawns on him. She weighs absolutely nothing. For a second, let's go back to these quick slides in different colors. They are the pulse of Araragi's deeply flawed mental state. This isn't a documentary. This is heavily biased, hormonally charged, completely unreliable perspective. This story is basically about what Araragi sees, what Araragi thinks, and what Araragi does, told by Araragi himself. And these chaotic, hyperbolic, distorted scenes are also not an objective reality. This is a world filtered through the mind of a teenager. Monogatari defies conventions on every possible front. Sure, we have subjective stories like Nabokov's Lolita, but this right here, this isn't just a narrative choice. This is the foundation upon which something much bigger grows. The animation, the scenery, in this anime everything is an actor. Landscapes tell stories, they scream with emotion. But what truly kept me glued to the screen were the words. Complicated, intricate, meandering. A park. Araragi is just there. Aimlessly, spontaneously. He figures no normal person would come here on Mother's Day. And then Senjougahara appears. She greets him with extraordinary tenderness, full of gratitude for the rescue. And then the duel begins, with smiles, with words. A chance encounter turns into an intellectual bloodbath. Senjougahara's clothes. She bought them so that Araragi would see them. Notice the phrasing. She doesn't want to show them to him. She wants him to see them. Her strategy is crystal clear. She takes the initiative. She's dealing the cards now. The bench. Asking to sit next to someone is a minefield. One wrong inflection exposes all your intentions. Every move Araragi makes must be defensively perfect. But Senjougahara, she has the absolute upper hand. She uses her presence, her words, and his own teenage hormones against him, backing him into a corner where every answer makes him look like a creep. And obviously, it's not true that we guys are just... look, it's not what it looks like, okay? If we were just perverts, we wouldn't... who asks what she can do in that kind of way? It's a trap! She set a trap! So, the dialogue. It's a game of chess played with words, where every syllable is a trap. Senjougahara attacks, Araragi deflects, but beneath this rapid fire, the intellectual bloodshed, there's something intensely vulnerable going on. They aren't just talking, they are testing the waters, probing each other's traumas. This is what Monogatari does best. It takes mundane moments, a conversation on a park bench, walking down a street, brushing teeth. Anyway, it takes these mundane moments and turns them into surreal battlegrounds of human psychology, because our problems aren't straightforward. They are deeply rooted, tangled, messy, and so is the visual storytelling. And all that is leading to the one thing no human being can escape: change. Let's skip to the end, or rather, to the end of an era. Owari Monogatari. Araragi Koyomi dies. Yes, he dies, pulled straight down into hell. But in the surreal, twisted architecture of this anime, death isn't just the end of a heartbeat, it's the ultimate, violent forced stop. Up until this point, the entire series has been a creative, hyper-stylized story about fighting inner demons, literally and figuratively, but suddenly the mask slips. The surrealism zeroes in on something terrifyingly real. Coming of age. Araragi hits a wall, the ultimate crossroad. He has to make a choice. Does he cling to the past? Does he stay the immortal, self-sacrificing teenager forever trapped in a loop of saving others because he fundamentally hates himself? Or does he move forward? He has to accept the undeniable, crushing fact that the life he had is over. Things will be different now. The people around him will change. He will change. Growing up in the world of Monogatari doesn't just mean getting older. It means accepting irreversible changes. And above all, it means Araragi finally learning to respect himself. We started this video talking about surrealism, about Gaudí, about bizarre, disjointed stories that don't seem to make sense. But look inside your own head. Are your thoughts a perfectly straight, logical line? Or are they a chaotic mess of colors, flashing words, irrational fears, and exaggerated memories? Monogatari uses surrealism because objective reality is a lie. Our minds hold far more surrealism than reality. The chaotic, expressive and impossible visuals of this anime aren't just an artistic flex. They are the most precise, accurate depiction of the chaos inside our own heads.